Hello.
Hello. Welcome to 44 Queef.
So, welcome to JHS and welcome Llewellyn Pavey from Brake Magazine. Now we got an invite to the Husqvarna 2020 Husqvarna Enduro range, and we were supposed to be in Jerez, but unfortunately one of the bikes wasn't ready, so we didn't go. But thankfully, Lel stepped in and saved me from a day of pain and misery and made to look like a bit of a twat by riding with a load of really fast Enduro riders. So thankfully, I mean, obviously those who saw the Tenere video, bit of background on Lel, you've done the Dakar.
Yeah.
You've done British Enduro.
Yeah.
You know your onions.
Yeah.
So he's fully qualified to talk about the bikes themselves, and whereas I probably just go, that was fast. But anyway, so Lel, where'd you go? What did you do?
We went to some place in northern Finland called Jämsä. It was in the middle of nowhere, 3 hours drive north of Helsinki. And we rode around in circles,
Nice.
Long, big 15-minute long circles all day till I couldn't stand up anymore. It was wicked.
And there's 7 bikes for 2020?
Yeah, 7. Yeah,
Wow.
I think so. 4 4-strokes and 3 2-strokes. Yeah.
So what's the brief? Give us a brief update from 2019 to 2020 then.
So essentially 2020 Enduro models got the same changes as 2019 motocross models. So new chassis, new bodywork, some engine updates, some suspension updates.
So pretty substantial then.
Pretty substantial, yeah. The 2-strokes got some kind of chunky changes to the injection, and the 150 became the first kind of small bore 2-stroke with injection as well.
Yeah, that really excited me when I saw that, because I'm a 2-stroke man, coming from 2-stroke motocross, but that thing there, I mean, the 150 for me was a perfect motocross bike.
Yeah.
And I hope, does that translate to the Enduro world?
Yeah, massively. Yeah. I think I've not been a small 2-stroke dude since I was on mini bikes really, but everyone loves the 125 because they are super fun. And that 150 is no different. It's kind of rides like the broadest power banded 125 you've ever ridden.
Really?
So it's got nice bottom end for Enduro stuff. If you just leave it in first gear, you can crawl up anything. And then when you get it singing, it's decent, it's not as quick as a motocross 150, but it's rideable and it's enjoyable, and it's got all the good things that a 125's got. It sounded a little bit wet for a 2-stroke, but otherwise it was, yeah.
Is that because of the injection?
Injection, I think, a little bit, and maybe they've put a quieter exhaust on it, but yeah. Okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it was super nice. It was really rideable, good bike, yeah.
So all of the models shared most of the updates?
Yeah, for sure. All the chassis updates are identical across all the bikes. So the suspension is the same across all the bikes now, which a few years ago wasn't the case. They'd have different spring rates and whatever. Now they've just blanketed, everything gets the same.
Okay.
Same chassis, same bodywork, yeah.
And are there any sort of discernible differences between the KTM and the Husky? Because we obviously know they're made in the same factory. Made in the same factory, but sometimes there are differences between them.
Yes.
Not just aesthetics.
Yeah. So massively, actually. On the motocross side, I think it's a bit less, but on the Enduro side, the biggest difference is that all the Huskies have got a linkage rear shock. So KTM, PDS, it's straight to the swing arm, almost road bike style.
Yeah.
And on the Huskies, they run a linkage across all of them.
Right.
They get a slightly different airbox and a slightly different state of tune and a slightly different suspension setup, which I think they do just a little bit for the sake of it, but the biggest difference is linkage on the rear shock.
Okay.
And they changed that for this year from last year's bikes, as well as the new chassis. They've got a new linkage ratio, which is super nerdy, but the idea is that they can run the suspension springs softer, but still control the damping better.
Have more progressive.
Stops it bottoming out as easy, stops it kicking as much. Yeah. That's the idea. Whether that works in practice takes a little bit of fiddling around with, but yeah. It's a different thing anyway, that's the idea. And a lot of people with dirt bikes like a linkage. They like the more consistency of it, whereas a PDS, if you're not used to it, can feel weird. It sits real high in the rear and
So what were your top 3 bikes?
Top 3 bikes. Ooh.
Starting third.
I'm going to go This is a difficult one. I'm going to go with the 501, which is an odd choice for someone that lives and rides in a slippery, wet country. But the big one.
Is it a beast?
No, it's like the biggest, cuddliest teddy bear in the world. It's like a prop forward covered in fur. You know, it's like big and cuddly, but if he wants to kill you, it will.
So a 500cc two-stroke?
Four-stroke.
Four-stroke?
It's a 500 four-stroke. Yeah.
Right, okay.
No, I'm not a savage.
Right.
It's kind of weird. I think if you live in a more open place, you'll get more from it. But it's one of those bikes that is just super lovely to ride. It's big and almost like a GS is big and friendly and lovely to ride.
Yeah.
But it's got a bit of an edge to it. That's the same, you know. You kind of ride around and you hook gears and the thing's a rocket ship. But if you're gentle with it, it just looks after you and it puts a big smile on your face, and it handles infinitely better than a 500 should. It should want to go through every corner, and it kind of just feels a bit like it's on rails. It's really nice. And I think if you're a trail rider and you like doing big, long wheelies and getting a little bit out of shape every now and then, that's the one. Like, I had a massively good time on it. I think I was out there on my own with that. A few other people were like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, this 501's so good. Maybe I ride too many adventure bikes now. Yeah. She was good. Number 2 on the list, it's got to be the 350 four-stroke. It's just one of those bikes that does everything well. You know, if you want to go fast, it goes fast. If you want to ride difficult stuff, you can ride difficult stuff. It doesn't beat you up.
Suits lots of riders.
It suits lots of riders. It's kind of, I think if you're just a guy that dabbles in everything, or a person that, does a bit of motocross or a bit of trail riding or whatever, it's just a really good all-round bike.
Yeah.
They've made it a little bit easier to ride this year. It doesn't flame out as much as it used to.
What do you mean flame out?
So I've got a 17, and just every now and then, for some reason, you'll come on the gas and the thing turns off. It just cuts out. And they changed the compression ratio on all the four-strokes to stop that happening, and it's 100% noticeable. You come into corners, and when you go on the gas, it doesn't cut out.
Okay.
When you try to ride over logs, it doesn't cut out. Okay. That makes it a bit more rideable than it used to be, but otherwise it still feels very much like the old bike was. You know, it's still good all-round bike.
And I say before the launch, when I looked at all the bikes, I was thinking of all of them. I mean, the 152 stroke went. Yeah, I'd love to ride that, but the 350 four-stroke, I think, is the pick for most people, isn't it? Yeah,
it's got to be. I think for 90% of people, it's the perfect bike.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a really good all-rounder. It's got kind of 250 four-stroke-ish handling characteristics, but it's got plenty of power. You know, it makes still nearly 50 horsepower. So, you know, it's not shy on the ponies. And
just out of interest, what do the 500 make?
500's like nearly 60. Yeah. But it's got a big jump in torque as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you can sit really low in the revs and just be in like 5th gear everywhere, and that's wicked. I like that. You know.
So the winner, what was the winner?
The granddaddy, it's got to be the 302 stroke, and this is a big surprise for me because I've not been a 302 stroke guy. I raced a 252 stroke a few years ago, and I really liked it. And the 300 always felt like I was eating me alive. You know, I felt like I was flapping off the back of it like a bit of washing. And they've kind of made it more rideable over the years. The fueling's really nice. You can pull big gears, and it's got a little bit gentler off the bottom than it was a few years ago, which for me was the bit I hated. You know, when it got difficult, I always felt like I had to keep the 300 moving to keep it within like a level of grip, and they've kind of fixed that. They've gone the other way, and then you can pull big gears everywhere, and it's gentle, and it's a two-stroke, so it doesn't it doesn't plow through corners, and
engine
it's easy.
braking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the first time you get on one, you definitely miss the first 5 corners because you forget that there's no engine braking. But yeah, it was a bike that put a massive smile on my face all day. Every time I rode it 3 times when I should have only ridden it once, and I kept sneaking back out on it because I was having so much fun. It was just,
I'm genuinely shocked at that because in a conversation we had on the Tenere launch, you were saying you weren't too keen on the sort of bigger two-strokes.
No, not at all.
But that was pre-TPI, so this new TPI two-stroke is. I mean, I think that as a sportsman, clubman rider, the early TPIs where the experts hated or didn't rate it as much, I loved it. Yeah. Because it takes the hassle of putting in pre-mixing fuel.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, as a bike you've got to live with, I think that's a great change. You know, like that was the worst bit of owning a two-stroke, is mixing gas. Yeah. Like people pretend like they love it, but nobody loves that. Sitting there with a 20-litre jerry can, shaking it in the pits is not fun. But yeah, I think they've made some changes to the TPI this year that it was a bit difficult to tell because we had a lot of grip, but it sounds like the problems that people had in the past with TPI have kind of been worked on pretty well. So that kind of initial throttle opening used to be a bit abrupt, and it didn't feel that abrupt to me. It felt like a richly jetted two-stroke, so that's kind of a nice thing. it just felt awesome. I think there's a little bit of jetting where it's still quite fluffy at the top. So when you're really on the gas, but most of the time, like 95% of us aren't wide open on a 300 two-stroke.
No.
And if you are, you're probably fast enough that you're fiddling with those settings anyway. So yeah, for me, it was the one that I just had a smile on my face all the time when I was riding it. I was doing wheelies and riding over big rocks and up ledges and having a great time. So, and I think that's what it should be about, right? Like you should ride one of these bikes and have a smile on your face. And
not willy waving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or farting around. Yeah. So yeah, that one was the winner.
Okay. So which kind of leads me on to my next question is, I'm doing a beach race again this year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it on Husqvarna.
Yeah.
So what bike would you recommend me doing it on?
Well, it depends. Are you going for the whole shot?
Probably not. No.
If you're going for the whole shot, it's got to be the 501. That's a whole shot monster every day of the week. No, I think probably the 300.
Yeah.
Because in that kind of conditions, the way you can ride that bike, you can probably save a lot of energy over the course of 3 hours. Like I don't imagine you're going to turn yourself into a ripped athlete for 4 months' time.
No.
It's just going to make your life easy. I think you can be in big gears all day. It's still going to have some good speed on the straight, and you're not going to feel like you're going to blow it up. And I think it's not going to tuck the front in the sand everywhere. So that's going to be nice.
Something that I'd never really even thought of about riding the beach race and sand. We were talking about off camera earlier, was the riding a 4-stroke. You have to keep the power on.
Yeah, you have to kind of almost ride a little bit differently, brake a little bit earlier and kind of get on the gas a bit earlier in the corner to stop the front diving. Otherwise, you spend a lot of time pulling it back out of the sand. If it's something you're used to, it's not a problem. You can ride a 4-stroke obviously infinitely quick in the sand.
Yeah.
Like, all the dudes that are winning, most of them are riding 450 motocross bikes. There's a couple that will be on 300 two-strokes, but not many.
Well, the winner.
Yeah.
Todd Keller.
Yeah.
Todd Keller?
Todd Keller.
Todd Keller, yeah.
Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, Todd.
Ty's the
older
cameraman.
one.
Yeah, Ty's the cameraman. Yeah, so you obviously can ride a 4-stroke infinitely quick, and that's the choice of beach racers all around the world is 450 motocross bike. But I think unless you're keen on riding a 4-stroke and you're comfortable in the sand, the 300 two-stroke's a much easier bike. When you shut the throttle, it doesn't dive. You can kind of be lazy with it. You can get away with it. It's light. It's 10 kilos lighter.
Is it?
Yeah.
And they just feel lighter in general, don't they?
They feel lighter. Yeah. They've got way less inertia. Yeah. It's awesome. And I think I just think it's the one, really. Yeah. I think if I was going to do it, it's probably the bike I'd ride.
Why aren't you doing it?
Well, Husky haven't given me a bike yet. I asked for one. I'd love to. It's the one race I haven't done, really.
It?
Yeah. So
you've done a Dakar and you haven't gone down to Western Supermare.
Yeah, I haven't done Western Supermare. Wow. That and Skegness beach race.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I think that's the one I'd choose if I was if I was in for it. I'd go with a 300 two-stroke. You're still going to pass some people on the straight as well.
Yes, I did, even my fat ass on it last year. So yeah. Right, thanks mate.
Sweet, no problem.
Thanks for coming down.
Pleasure. Boom. Mic drop. It's a bit rude to break their cup, really.